Welcome back. Urban Dove began as an after-school program for at-risk youth in 1998. It since has become a unique and innovative alternative high school for overage and undercredited youth, combining a rigorous academic curriculum with a hands-on, real-world, award-winning college readiness program. And with President-elect Joe Biden pledging to take now his campaign to significantly boost federal education funding and focusing on, quote, neighborhood public schools, the question is, how does that affect Bronx schools and communities, more particularly charter schools? Joining us now to share a little bit more is the executive director of the Urban Dove Charter Academy. We've got Jay Nanda, and then also the New York State Senator of the 32nd Senatorial District, Louis Sepúlveda, who was also reelected this past election day. And first of all, I'll start off with State Senator Sepúlveda. Tell us your feelings on being reelected, and then let's also talk about this here. As I mentioned in the intro, President-elect Biden saying, listen, when it comes to priority and focus, it looks like it's going to go to public schools, and possibly charter schools can get caught in the mix. Give us your thoughts.
Well, first on the election, thank you very much. 2 more years to serve the community that I live in. I was elected in the assembly in 2012, so at the end of this term, it'll be my 10 years. And what it basically tells me is that I'm getting old and I'm getting gray. With respect to charter school, look, the Bronx has, I think that after Senator Brian Benjamin of Harlem, has the most charter school students enrolled of any county. And so I cannot completely disregard charter schools or be critical the way some of my colleagues are. What I've always said is that we should take the best of what the charter schools provide, and make sure that we apply some of those principles, some of those teaching methods to our public schools. And let's not get involved in the politicization of charter schools, because that doesn't help anyone. It doesn't help children. I have to constantly remind people that charter school students are public school students. This is not an elitist system of education that many profess. Certainly, I don't favor removing any funds from the traditional public schools. But the record has demonstrated that, generally speaking, the charter schools have done better with less funding for our students. And so I'm going to look at all options and not cut off a charter school or development of charter schools because they are charter schools per se. I'm going to see how effective every institution in my district is at educating our children. One of the most important components of any economic development plan we have. We know that our kids are graduating at about 60% rate as opposed to 80-something% in the rest of the city. And so what happens is when you have the difference in education, our kids' economic development is also slowed down, and you have that income gap that continues to develop, the wealth gap. And the biggest, quickest, most effective way to cure that is to make sure that all the kids in our districts have a quality education. That's one of the main components that we're going to need for economic development for the coming years in the Bronx.
Yeah. Jay, I want to bring you in, Executive Director of the Urban Dove Charter School right here in the borough of the Bronx. Talk to us a little bit about your school and how you feel about this right now, because as you know, the senator says, there is a great possibility for great potential in our charter schools, but yet and still with a greater emphasis placed on public schools, you guys can honestly be on the back burner.
Yeah, no, it's a great point, and congratulations again, Senator. Great to have you in the Bronx for 2 more years, and we look forward to continuing to work with you in your office. He makes a great point in saying that charter schools are not elite schools. Certainly, Urban Dove, fits that category. We serve overage, undercredited students, which are, some of the most vulnerable students in the system. And charter schools are public schools. District schools are public schools. These are public school children. And so I think it's really important that we focus on that. We make sure that all students have great educational opportunities. The students that we serve specifically at Urban Dove are students that have not found success in their district high schools. In order to come to Urban Dove, you have to have failed 9th grade. Some of our students have failed 9th grade twice in a district school. And we have a great relationship with the district schools in our communities because they know that their students are not having success there. It's an alternative option at Urban Dove, and they can send them to us. They get a smaller classroom, they get a full-time coach, They get sports-based youth development, a lot of things that we can do to make sure that they're getting the attention and the focus that they need. We serve some of the most vulnerable students in the system, and this pandemic, as we all know, has disproportionately negatively impacted vulnerable students. To echo the senator's words, I'm thrilled Joe Biden is president. I think he's going to do some wonderful things for our country. And frankly, I think he's got some great ideas on education. I hope that we don't politicize charter schools. I hope we truly look at charter schools, school by school, who they are, what they're doing, are they effective, are they serving students in need, and if they are, we should support them, and if they're not, then we shouldn't. And I hope that he takes a sophisticated look at it, but as you mentioned, it's going to be a philosophical difference of opinion, I think, out of the gate. And I think some education, frankly, is going to be required for the charter sector to make sure that from the federal government on down, they understand truly what charter schools are doing on the ground. And I think anybody who came and visited many of the charter schools in the Bronx, including Urban Dove Team Charter School 2, will see that we're doing great work, important work. Our families and our young people are having success where they traditionally have not had success. And it is critical that that work continue.
Yeah. I want to talk to you both about the issue that's going on right here in our community as well, talking a little bit more about the issue of the coronavirus. As we know, right here in the borough of the Bronx, numbers continue to rise. Senator Sepúlveda, I'll start with you first. Give me a little bit about your perspective, then I'll come to Jay and talk about how the school is navigating through this. But give me your perspective right now. A lot of concern on many people's parts on the fact that we're seeing not a decrease, but actually an increase.
Well, since the advent of Corona, I've been almost maniacal about reading the data and getting all the information about the levels of positivity rates. And we have seen that in the last couple of days, the positivity rate in the city in the Bronx has gone from about 1.2 to almost 3%. That is alarming when you consider what's going on with the rest of the country. Where you're seeing that in less than 3.5 weeks, we had a million more individuals that were infected with the virus, something that took us a lot longer. And yet we're going at an accelerated pace where about 100,000 people in the country are being coming back with a positivity rate. And so I have been traveling throughout all the train stations in the Bronx, in and out of my district, giving out face coverings and PPE, because this is the only way we're going to be able to prevent the increase in COVID cases in the Bronx. It's the only way. We got to work together, disregard political lines, political arguments, and make sure that we do this. That is essentially the first firewall against the split in our district. When you couple what's going on with the fact that we still are, as a county, one of the worst counties in terms of health. A lot of our health indicators still have not improved despite great efforts by leadership in the Bronx, but we still have a major problem that we are 62 out of 62. You see a lot of poor Black and brown communities in our county. And generally speaking, as you saw from the advent of COVID, it was our communities that were severely impacted. The Latino community had about 34% positivity rate, 29% African-American rate. So our communities have well over 50% of the positivity rates in the city of New York. So we have to make sure that we remain vigilant, that we continue to use face masks. I went to an event this past weekend at a playground where I saw hundreds of people gathering without masks on. And it was very upsetting because I don't think they realized the risk that they're putting themselves in and others. So from my perspective, a lot of what I'm going to be doing in the next few months is to make sure that we get this COVID crisis under control and it doesn't become a massive wave again here in the Bronx the way it was back in March.
Well, unfortunately, we're going to have to leave it there. We are out of time for our segment. But I want to thank you both for taking the time to share with us. Jay, continue to do the great work at the charter school, Urban Dove. And as we get into the new year, I want to bring you back and let us know and give us an update as to how things are faring, particularly after the new president takes office.
I will. Thank you so much for having me.
All righty. So this is Huh?
Biden-Harris all the way.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure. Yes, that's the ticket right now, Biden-Harris. Senator Sepúlveda, Jay, Nanda, thank you so much for being with us here on Open. We're going to take a quick break. We got more show coming back. We'll be right back in a few.